Thank you and good evening, everybody. It's good to see a lively audience here today. I'd like to just start by saying thanks also to our wonderful Central Park for hosting this evening tonight. In addition, we are actually showing this live on the City of Woodbury's YouTube channel, so welcome to any of those watching live on that. Just great to be here tonight. I'd also like to recognize a few people that are here in the audience. So first of all, tonight we have the Citizens Academy here. Y'all want to raise your hands if you're Citizens Academy people? Fantastic. So welcome. So the Citizens Academy is I don't know what you call it, an opportunity to learn more about all the things going on in Woodbury, and it is sponsored by our Woodbury Community Foundation. It's an 8-week course. It happens every year, kind of here in the first quarter of the year. I'm actually a graduate of it, so it's a lot of fun. You guys, I heard, are a lively group this year, so it's nice to have you here with us this evening. In addition, let me recognize some other elected officials in the audience. Lisa Wyke, somewhere, oh, there, County Commissioner. In addition, Wayne Johnson is here, one of our other county commissioners that hosts that has a portion of Woodbury. City Council members, Steve Morris, Andrea Date, and Jen Santini. And then this evening we also have our former mayor, Mary Giuliani Stevens, here in the audience. Where are you, Mary? Right back there. Mary really loved her job as mayor, and after taking about a year off, she's decided she's back in the race. She's running for state senator here in Woodbury. So welcome, Mary. It's glad to have you back from Arizona for a bit of time. I was elected mayor here in November of 18, so I've been in office just a little over a year. The first year's gone really, really well. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great learning experience. But more than anything, it's been awesome to work with my existing council members. Well, but to get started, we've decided to do something a little fun this year and involve some audience participation. So you might have seen up on the screen when you came in, or here it still is, for you to pull out your smartphones right now. You're actually, instead of just listening to me, you're actually going to use your smartphone during this presentation and log into menti.com. That's MENTI.com. And once you get there, you're going to have a code to enter, and you can see it up here on the screen. It's 783595. So everyone, I want to keep going, but as you're logging into that, 783595, menti.com. And I'll just also say, if anyone's watching on the YouTube channel, you also can participate in this, because this is a live feed, and you'll be able to register your votes and come and answer questions on that as well. So with that, let's get started. And I want to start with the slide of our city council members. So they're sitting over here in the dark, but so you can see their beautiful faces. Again, that's Andrea Date. Andrea's wrapping up her first term. She's been here 3.5 years, almost 4 years. Amy Scoggins is not with us this evening, but she's in her 4th term as city council member. It's nice having that long-term experience and history with us. And then, of course, me in the middle, Steve Morris and Jan Santini. Like I said, it's really just been a great year. I'm very proud that our citizens have elected reasonable, hardworking people for our city council. We have very lengthy discussions, but they're very fun and enjoyable as we make the right decisions, so that's great. So the city's mission is to be a leading community in which to live, work, and thrive. And our focus is being on both professional and responsive in leadership and service. We want to strengthen our tradition of public trust and effectively use our resources. And we've actually gotten several accolades along those lines, so I just want to highlight a few here. Money Magazine named Woodbury the best place to live in all of Minnesota in the year 2018. We are ranked number 10 in the entire country for best places to live. So thank you for all you who live here. You've helped to make it a great place. In addition, financially, we've been very proud to maintain our AAA bond rating every year consecutively since the year 2009. This allows us to issue bonds at the lowest interest rate possible because of that great financial stewardship that we have. which occurs because of our finance team as well as our Audit and Investment Commission, a group of citizens that helps keep an eye on all the things we're doing financially in our organization. We've also received the Performance Measurement Certificate of Excellence Award. This is the highest level of this award that's offered or given. We've received this every year since the year 2011. There's only 34 cities in the entire U.S. that have achieved this award at this level, and Woodbury is the only city in all of Minnesota to do so. So that makes me very proud. I hope it makes you proud too of the hard work that our staff does to track and measure much of the work that they do, and from there glean the data and look for areas for improvement. So no sitting idle, everything's just fine, always looking for ways to improve in our community. So let's talk about community and commerce. Woodbury continues to experience active commercial and residential development. So let's talk about that by starting off with our first question on your menti.com. The question is, what is the city of Woodbury's estimated population? Is it A, 65,000, B, 70,000, C, 74,500, or D, 79,500? And you'll be able to see the information shows up here on the screen as your answer comes in. And you can also see the number of respondents in the lower right-hand corner. So thanks for that quick answering. And it looks like we got some smart people in the audience today, because you're right. The answer is C. Our current population is about 74,500 people. We are now Minnesota's 8th largest city. Our population is expected to grow by another 6,000 in the next 10 years, so we'll reach that milestone of about 80,500, and nearly 88,000 by the year 2040. So we are a growing community. We've got about a third of our land left to develop. And I'd just like to share this. As private landowners sell their land, we will utilize our 2040 comprehensive plan to help determine what is going to happen to that land. So all the growth that's occurred in this city from the beginning and through to completion, when it's fully developed by the year 2050, is all guided by our comprehensive plan. So it's well thought out. Where are we going to have commercial businesses? Where are we going to have residential construction? Where are the parks going to go? So that's all part of the plan. So talking about residential development, we've got continued stable growth here in Woodbury. You can see this chart from the year 2010, the number of residential units that have been added on a yearly basis. Notice that the red means single-family homes, the green are townhomes and twin homes, and the blue identifies apartment buildings. Having a wide variety of residential offerings has always been important to this community. It's kind of been a mainstay, and you don't often get this in some of our neighboring suburbs, which are focused a lot on single-family homes. But Woodbury has always wanted to be a place for people of all ages, all family types, all income levels, to have a place to call home. So we've worked hard to maintain this variety of housing stock. In addition, as we've had people raise their families here, this community is now 50 years old, and as people have raised their families and now they're aging in place, we're finding a lot of our senior citizens want to stick around in the community, but not necessarily in the home that they started in. So we've really got a variety of housing stock for people who want to age in place. Some of the examples we have are the Artist Senior Living Center, Prelude of Woodbury, the Legends of Woodbury, the Glen at Valley Creek, and St. Therese. I'll also add, for the year 2020, again, residential development is continuing. We've got a couple of apartment buildings especially that are going to be located up to the, let's say, the east side of City Place. And in addition, a new apartment complex will be up north of the Legends, which is where the former KOA campground was, at the corner of Settlers Ridge Parkway and Hudson Road. Those apartment complexes are very large and will take nearly 2 years to complete construction. But again, exciting to offer the continued variety of housing stock for people who want to live here in Woodbury. Okay, we're ready for our next question. Can you name between 1 and 3 new businesses that opened in Woodbury in the year 2019? I'll give you a hint, there's been a lot more than that, but you just need to name between 1 and 3. What's going to form here is going to be a word cloud. So if you've seen word clouds before, the names that get the most votes become the biggest words on the screen. So let's see what you are thinking about. So I'll share that I have done this presentation a few times, mostly for our employees, and we're seeing a lot of similarity here. Everyone's really focused on food. And I would say that Texas Roadhouse seems to have been the winner in the other groups as well, as we see here. Raising Cane's was also a very popular new opening. Duck Donuts, I see that listed. So very good. Thanks for sharing that. But I would like to share that besides just those food offerings, we had 51 new businesses open in Woodbury last year. These include Athleta, Birdie Golf, Five Below, the new pizza place that's right next to Kowalski's, and of course the Texas Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse has only been open about a month, and it's wildly popular. How many people here have actually gone to it? Okay, good to see. Well, call ahead is what I hear. They don't formally take reservations, but if you call ahead, they'll maybe reserve a spot for you. But very, very popular place. For 2020, we're very excited. I'll name a few more food places. The Chick-fil-A is finally coming to Woodbury. We've been waiting for that for quite a long time. In addition, Dunkin' Donuts. The Chick-fil-A is going to be located where there's an older Spire building on the corner of Valley Creek Road and 494. That whole corner, other than the Cowboy Jacks, is going to be redeveloped. So we're excited about some of the redevelopment happening on that corner, and that's, again, where the Chick-fil-A is going to go. Now, I know we're probably known for food because we think of that. We're also known for retail, but we also have a really good mix of commercial businesses. Really, 45% of our businesses are retail, with the remaining 55% being non-retail. We're increasingly becoming known as a healthcare destination, and 20% of the people employed in Woodbury work in healthcare. So we really do have a lot of diversity there. But besides commercial development, we've also got a fair amount of redevelopment and reinvestment. Commercial property owners continue to invest in Woodbury because they know this is a good place to do business. Last year, they pulled 121 permits for leasehold improvements with a cumulative permit value of nearly $35 million. I'm going to read off the top 10 reinvestment permits that were issued. Summit Orthopedics, 3 mil-watt solar array, Salute Dental, the Foss Swim School, Alina Clinic Phase 4, reconstruction of the Woodbury Lakes retaining wall, Goodwill, United Noodles, Kraft Mechanical Addition East Building, and the Barnes & Noble, which moved from one location up to City Place. So you can keep up to date on all the development by going onto our website to our development map. Super handy. You can see that the red pins all identify commercial business, commercial locations for development, and the yellow is all residential. And you can see from the map too, Woodbury is a community, we're 6 by 6 miles, so 36 square miles. A lot of those yellow pins then, of course, are on the southern portion, south of Bailey Road, and a lot of the commercial, of course, is in that north and northwest corridor. But if you go on the website and click on a pin, it'll bring up specific information about those particular projects. So now let's move on and talk about transportation. And in the suburban community in which we live, it's mostly about roads and pedestrian systems. Being the 8th largest city and the economic hub of the East Metro, we have developed roadway standards that balance safety with mobility when it comes to vehicle traffic and pedestrian safety. And we can't have a summer go by without some construction projects, right? This is the case probably everywhere around the country, but especially here when winter goes away and it's time to work on those roads. So I'm going to highlight a few of the projects occurring. This one is a county project. The county is leading it, although it also includes some city streets. It is the section of Woodbury Drive just south of 94 down to Tamarack Road. And as we've had a lot of this development and growth on the east side, this road is becoming very heavily traveled and it's now ready for some expansion and improvement. So that road is going to be widened, and then a lot of the roads moving into it will get more turn lanes. In addition, the city roads that will be under construction include Tamarack Road, Commerce Drive, Rivertown Road, and Hudson Road. It's a very large scope to this project, and it's going to take 2 years to complete. I do encourage continuing to shop and visit all those commercial businesses in that area. We all just have to deal with a little bit of road construction, but keep attending all those things and keep those businesses going during this time. In addition, another county project slated for this year is Bailey Road. Now, you might remember that part of Bailey Road was improved last year. This section from Woodbury Drive down to Pioneer was expanded, turn lanes added, the trail was improved, just all wonderful improvements. This year, this section of Bailey Road from Radio Drive down to Wood Lane is going to be widened to 2 lanes in each direction. There'll be a bike trail added to the south side of the road, whereas right now it's only on the north side. In addition, a traffic circle would be added at that intersection at Wood Lane. That's right there by Bailey Elementary School. So that'll really improve the flow of traffic through that area. Then head a little bit further to the east, down at the intersection of Military, where the Bailey Nursery headquarters are. That's now that stop sign area. A stop light will be put in there. So look for that work to be completed this summer. In addition, we're fortunate to be where we are on the map because we're bounded by Interstate 94, 494, and 694. You probably remember the construction on that cloverleaf in that area last year. It is a 2-year project led by the Minnesota Department of Transportation, $28.5 million project to upgrade that cloverleaf area. We will continue to see some impacts this year at the Tamarack Road intersection as well as in Oakdale up at 10th Street. More information about that is on the MnDOT website. But we also are very excited about a transit line coming to Woodbury. So the Metro Gold Line Bus Rapid Transit. Now, it's important that I point out that it's a bus rapid transit. It's not a typical bus system. This actually operates, it's kind of a modern system. It operates in its own lane and roadway so that it's not, for the most part, mixing with traffic and being interrupted by traffic lights and all of that. It makes it a very efficient bus line. This is a planned 10-mile dedicated line that's going to connect St. Paul, Maplewood, Landfall, Oakdale, and Woodbury. It's generally going to run along the north side of 94, like not on 94, but north of there, even cutting through the 3M campus. You can see on the map that it then turns south from Oakdale into Woodbury and connects along Bielenberg Drive. It's going to have to get over 94, which means a bridge is going to be put in there. The bridge will be open. The plan is to have the bridge open for car traffic as well as pedestrian traffic and this dedicated bus lane. There are going to be 3 transit stops in Woodbury, or stations in particular. One is going to be on Bielenberg Drive, and then 2 more on Guider. Guider is the road where the Woodbury Theater currently is. There will be a stop at that Woodbury Theater, and then one at the end of the line, kind of north of where Kohl's is. This project has been in the works already for 10 years. It's anticipated that it will be completed and up and running by the year 2024. It is a very complex project, as you can imagine. It involves Ramsey County, Washington County, all those cities along the line that I mentioned, as well as the state and federal government. So lots of complexity. There's still things to work through. It's not guaranteed, but we're moving in the right direction. And again, as I said, it's anticipated to be open by the year 2024. The city has been very involved in this project during this entire time frame, but our work will ramp up this year as we begin to do station area planning. So there's this thing called transit-oriented development, and around these transit stations, there's opportunities for lots of development, and we will be working on that in the coming year with opportunities for public input on that. So look forward to that. In addition, we've got an expanded bus route that is being considered for Woodbury this year. Metro Transit is considering this new route. It's called Route 323, would travel between the Sunray Transit Center and Woodbury, with providing access to jobs, services, housing, and retail. It will serve Woodwinds Health Campus, the Valley Creek Mall, and then of course that Sunray Center. And from the Sunray Center, you can go off in like 5 different directions on different types of transit. It's anticipated that trips will be every 30 to 60 minutes between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. daily, about 20 minutes from end to end on that route. So more information on that on the Metro Transit website. So closer to our neighborhoods, we can't get through another summer without having some road construction in our own neighborhoods. We do this every year. This year, the neighborhoods impacted by road construction will be Brookside, Savannah Oaks North, and Woodbury Crossing. Really, the work there is just to rehabilitate those roads. They last between 15 and 20 years, and then work needs to be done. So those are the neighborhoods for that. Let's talk a little bit now about our public safety. We are very thrilled to see and be a part of the grand opening of the Hero Center that just opened officially opened in January. The cities of Cottage Grove and Woodbury have paid for this, along with $10 million from the state of Minnesota. This is a regional, state-of-the-art immersive training center for police, fire, and emergency medical services. So both the cities of Cottage Grove and Woodbury utilize an integrated public service model. We've got police officers also trained as EMTs, firefighters as EMTs, just this big combination, which allows us to provide safety as needed, but also do it very cost effectively. Having a training center like this to do that integrated training model is just a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful center, and we're thrilled to have it. One of the reasons people move to Woodbury is because it's a safe community, and this will help us keep focused in that direction. The facility will also host some community-based education and training for the public, like CPR, firearms training, and recreational vehicle safety training. In addition, there is a shooting range which will be open to the public on weekends. So we've seen a good increase in mental health related calls coming into 911. This has been the case both nationally, statewide, and even here locally. Some of these calls are some of the most complex situations faced by law enforcement. So our police department is in the early stages of developing a community support unit that will help improve these type of calls and the attention needed for them. In October, we dedicated a full-time position to this new community support unit led by our detective, Adam Sack. The intent is to bridge these calls with the crisis, with the people in crisis and their families, and provide, help get them to the resources they're going to need both in short and long term. Parks and Recreation. Well, we're sitting here in one of our beautiful park buildings, the Central Park, and I'm going to talk more about that in just a minute. But we do know the park system, our trail system, and our recreation program, again, is another one of the things that draws people to our community. So Central Park is a great gathering spot, as we're doing tonight. It's a great place to hang out, meet friends, do homework, grab a snack in our new snack area, go to the library, take a class. It's available for renting for weddings, performances, birthday parties, business events, and you can go online and sign up for opportunities here to rent this place out. It really has something for everybody, and we're finding it's great for multi-generational, multilingual, multinational crowds, which really helps tie together one of the city's focuses on diversity and inclusiveness. I was really happy to be here last week. Downstairs, there is all kinds of classrooms. We have adult learners, or adult English language learners that are here. There's a group of about 30 of them that meet 2 or 3 times a week to learn our language. And it was just fascinating to meet and welcome all those new people to our community and to learn all the places around the world that they've come. And they've chosen to be in Woodbury because of all the great things that the city has to offer. So Central Park has been here for 18 years. It opened in 2002. And during that time, our population has nearly doubled in size. The facility is kind of ready for a facelift and some changes. So our Parks Director is working with her team on this, along with partners. The building is not just the city of Woodbury. You probably know that the YMCA is over here on this side. We've got the Washington County Library, and then downstairs where a lot of the classrooms are all District 833 classrooms and services. So we have to work together, the 4 groups, to come up with kind of what the plans are going to be for improving this facility. But we're very excited about it. And again, there will be some opportunities for public input on some of those design changes coming later this year. We've got all kinds of other spaces available, though, for public use. You'll see on the screen here, this is our newest building, the Ojibwe Park building. The former building that was there was really old and dilapidated and really needed an improvement. So what a beautiful building this is. And again, this is here, we do park programming here. and it's also available to rent for any opportunity that you might want to have, again, weddings or showers or what have you. But a beautiful space, beautiful architecture. One of our other popular destinations is a Healthy Sports Center. It's got its 2 indoor rinks, outdoor rink, meeting spaces, and a meeting room. This year, the Sports Center attracted more than 447,000 visitors. That doesn't include the thousands of visitors that have shown up to the outdoor athletic fields, the Miracle Field, Madison's Place Playground, and the Splash Pad. In addition, the city owns Eagle Valley Golf Course, and it was just a really great year for golf this year. 35,000 rounds of golf were played at that golf course this year. It was 5,000 more than they did in 2018. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to an early spring and getting out there on the links again. So here's a chance for next question for you. Have you participated in a Parks and Recreation program here in the city of Woodbury? It's a simple yes or no. Although I think there's also the answer unsure. I can appreciate the unsure because there are a lot of offerings in our community, and sometimes you're not really sure if it's a community ed offering or a park offering or something else, but let's see how it looks. Oh, lots of participants. Love to see that. But if you answered no, what are you waiting for? We really offer a wide variety of recreation programs, and there really is something for everyone. We produce a brochure or a catalog of all this programming. The next one will be out in early March, so when you get that here in the next few weeks, take a look through it and maybe sign up for something. All right, Public Works and Parks Maintenance. Woodbury has a lot of trees and roads and parks and trails, buildings, trucks and cars, and all of those things need to be maintained. And after many, many years, we had to invest in upgrading the buildings that do all of that work. So in 2019, the Public Works building on the east side of Tower Drive and then the Fleet Services building on the west side of Tower Drive were significantly expanded and improved this past year. The Fleet Services building has been replaced completely with a new 25,000 square foot Fleet Services facility, as well as a nearly 19,000 square foot unheated shed. The City Council was fortunate last night to be able to go and tour this. It's amazing to see the variety of equipment and trucks and motors and all that need to be maintained and what that Fleet Services building does. It's very fascinating. It's not all like taking care of a Ford Escort. They're doing fire trucks and snow plows and all the mechanics around those. So really great to have this facility. That Public Works building, the one on the east side of Tower Road, was expanded by nearly 53,000 square feet. It houses so much of our equipment, and again, as the city has grown and we have more roads and we have more trails that need to be maintained and more fields that need to be cut, we've got to have places to house all that equipment. It's anticipated that that expansion will last us about 10 more years, and as we keep growing, we'll probably need to look at another expansion about a decade down the road. So last year I talked briefly about the emerald ash borer in Woodbury, and despite the polar vortexes we've experienced, the emerald ash borer has not completely gone away, although it has slowed down a bit. But the city has identified all of the ash trees on city property that need to be removed. It's a couple of year project, and we will continue removing those trees. I do always like to encourage, though, residents, find out in your own yards if you have an ash tree. If it's not yet been attacked by emerald ash borer, you can still look at treatment options, or be prepared to know at some point, once the emerald ash borer gets there and attacks, the trees will need to come down. So just be aware of that. All right, to continue to be successful and plan for the future, it's really important that Woodbury has a strategy and a vision, and I'm proud to say that we do. The City Council has identified some critical success factors that we must do in order to continue to be desirable living and working environment. Some of these things are things that we don't necessarily do ourselves, but we know how important they are, so we partner with other organizations to focus on these. They include safety, quality of life, business climate, youth development and education, city services, and environmental stewardship. Now, much of the work that the city does is pretty standard. It's very operational. We're pretty good at it. But we always keep that eye out for improvement of what we need to do better and different. And with this, the City Council identifies a few strategic initiatives that we're going to focus on to make sure that we can stay up to that higher level. We tie this with every 2 years we do a community-wide survey. With the input from that survey and gleaning other information, we go on a retreat and reflect on what it is we need to focus on. And we've got these 3 initiatives that we're going to be focusing on the next couple of years. One of them is drinking water quality. And I'll just say, this is going to be a big topic, and I'm actually pushing this to the end of our presentation. And I'm going to spend a few extra minutes on it because I know it's a concern of people in our community. But our Parks and Trails Replacement Plan, I'll speak to that briefly. We've been a growing community, and a lot of our parks and trails have been installed by development. As development comes in, part of that development cost goes to installing all those parks and trails. But as we age, we're going to need to look at how it is that we're going to replace that as we go forward. So we've got a challenge at looking at what kind of a funding source are we going to use to make sure that we can keep our quality of all that as high as it currently is. In addition, we'll focus a bit on adapting and enhancing our public safety effectiveness. Again, we talked about the integrated service model that the city uses. We'll evaluate that as we move forward to make sure that that still makes sense. And just as the policing and public safety things change in our environment, we're going to stay on top of that as well. So again, I'm going to push more on the water to the end. Let's briefly talk about our budget, and we're ready for another question for you. So what % of your property taxes are distributed to the city of Woodbury? Is it A, 15%, B, 25%, C, 35%, or D, 50%? Keep in mind when you get your property tax bill, it comes from the county, but there's all kinds of line items on there. So how much of that bill actually ends up in with the city? It's good to see. I think we've got some really educated people in the audience, and your answers look right. So the breakdown of our property tax bill generally looks like this. 50% of your property tax goes to support our local school system. The city gets 25%, Washington County 23%, and there are a few special taxing districts that add up to about 2%. So how does that break down in terms of what our overall budget is, and where does that money go? Most of our expenses go to maintaining streets, parks, trails, and providing public safety. That combined adds up to 76% of the budget. If you look at all the services that the city provides, and it was nice, I met with somebody in the audience earlier that talked about how great her road project turned out this year and what great things the city does. So it's always nice to hear, because sometimes we always just hear complaints about road projects. But that said, when you look at what is the monthly cost to a resident, it's about monthly cost, $88.75. When you think of what you might pay for your cell phone bill or your cable bill, we think you're getting a pretty good deal for that monthly cost. Okay, so now we're going to shift and talk about water. The very first thing I want to make clear about our water is that the water that we deliver to our customers, both commercial and residential, continues to meet all federal and state water quality standards. So let's get into some of that specifics. I want to start by throwing out some acronyms because I'll keep using these over and over again. One of them is PFAS. It stands for poly and perfluoroalkyl substances. We're going to talk about PFAS. We'll also talk about the Minnesota Department of Health, MDH, Minnesota DNR, that's the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, MPCA. I'm also going to share with you 2 different lawsuits and settlements that have occurred, and it helps if I just explain this ahead of time when I get into the timeline we're going to talk about. So there have been 2 lawsuits with 2 settlements. One of them occurred in 2007. It was a settlement for $40 million, and it's for temporary treatment of water that's got the PFAS in it. In addition, in 2018, there was a $720 million settlement. Actually, it was $850 million. Take out attorney fees, you're down to $720 for long-term treatment solutions. So I'm going to talk about both of these. But how can you be assured that the water meets all federal and state requirements? It's because our drinking water is regulated by both the US EPA through their Safe Drinking Water Act and also by the Minnesota Department of Health, which regulates drinking water here in the state of Minnesota. Produce annually a drinking water report. Here's the copy of it. It's available on the website, as well as this past several years are on there. This is done annually, and this gives you the summary of what your water quality has been in the last year. New requirements have gone into place, and we will start producing this twice a year, as will every municipality. Let me give you some recent figures about water usage and consumption. On an annual basis, most recently, we produced 2.6 billion gallons of water. On average, that's 7.1 million gallons a day, but the seasonal variation is significant. It's about 4.5 million gallons a day in the wintertime, and between 12 and 15 million gallons a day in the summer. A typical Woodbury family consumes about 22,000 gallons in a quarter, or nearly 90,000 gallons in a year. Keep that number in mind, because I'm going to come to something shortly, and knowing that 90,000 is going to be helpful. So PFAS, what is it? It's a family of chemicals. It's not just one chemical. I rattled off the long name, but you realize it's just a family of chemicals. It was made by 3M down in the Cottage Grove facility from the 1940s until 2002. PFAS wastes were disposed of in several landfills around Washington County, and we know that the source of PFAS in our groundwater comes from those disposal sites. So let's walk through a bit of a timeline, because I think this is important. So in 2005, the Minnesota Department of Health starts testing wells in Woodbury and looking for PFAS. That testing continues today. Of course, they're also testing different wells and different water sources around the East Metro where these disposal sites have been. You might be familiar that Oakdale and Lake Elmo have had some issues prior to Woodbury. 2007, again, wells continue to be tested, and they're now seeing very low levels of PFAS in some of the wells in Woodbury water. At this time, too, the Minnesota Department of Health established a health risk, but the Woodbury wells all showed levels below this health risk advisory. So I'm going to talk about the first lawsuit and settlement. In 2007, the state of Minnesota and 3M reached this $40 million settlement for temporary treatment. A lot of this money went to Oakdale and Lake Elmo, where they're having problems, as well as some private wells that were impacted along, the north side of 94, essentially. I need to step back too and just say, as I talk about Woodbury water, I'm talking about the water the city produces and sends to your homes and businesses. There are also some residents here in our city that are on private wells, and I just want to make clear that private wells are the responsibility of the homeowner to do their own testing on those wells, and if they have any concerns, it's their issue, okay? So during this time frame, starting in 2007, our former mayor, Bill Hargis, was very focused and knew that we were going to have to be watching water and what's happening with PFAS for the coming years. In addition, our mayor, Mary Giuliani Stevens, and her administration were looking at the same thing. So it's been a focus of administrations here back to 2007. Okay, in 2012, scientific advances in detection of PFAS were found and determined. They came up with these. But Woodbury wells are tested, and they're still below those health-based values. Fast forward to 2016. The US EPA, again, which is a federal agency, reduces its drinking water protective guidance on PFAS. At this time, the Minnesota Department of Health decides they want to investigate their number a little bit further, and so they begin some evaluation to determine if they want that number or something different. In 2017, the Department of Health did complete that review, and they lowered their guidance, lower than what the US level is. They updated this to better reflect levels for nursing mothers and infants. Due to this lower guidance, 5 of our 19 wells now tested positive above that health-based value for PFAS. At that time, again, this is 2017, the city begins to make operational changes, reducing the use of those wells, all guided by the drinking water guidance from the Minnesota Department of Health. It's hard to wrap your head around. These are very small numbers of PFAS, and things are measured in the part per trillion. I'm not going to get into that technical part, but think of it this way. It's like one drop of PFAS in a really large swimming pool. So we're talking about very, very, very low levels, but still, we can measure them and detect them. Moving forward to 2018, the state of Minnesota and 3M reached a settlement filed on a lawsuit that was filed back in 2010 by our state's attorney general at the time to clean up and have money available for that long-term treatment. So in 2018, this was that $850 million settlement that's now $720 million for long-term treatment. So again, two different treatment types. The Minnesota MPCA and the DNR were made co-trustees of that settlement money. So they have control of that money. Those two groups tied with some consultants hired and input from working groups involving cities, involving citizens chosen to sit on these working groups, began meeting and determining what to do with the long-term solution for water in our community. These meetings have been occurring for the last 2 years. They occur at least on a monthly basis. So city people, city employees, and chosen residents have been involved in over 24 meetings during this time. In the meantime, the city hires its own consultants. We're running a parallel path. It's not that we're not going to believe what the state is going to say, but we want to make sure that the best solutions are being determined and designed for our community. So we've got a parallel path going. In addition, during this time, the city staff begins to realize with our fifth well that we're going to probably need to bridge the gap between now and when that long-term solution gets put in place. So again, lots of work being done. Then you've got to figure out how you're going to share the money, and then you've got to start designing. So the long-term solution is probably still a good 5 years down the road. But we need to focus on the short-term solution and making sure that we can continue to provide good quality water. In October of 2019, so just 4 or 5 months ago, we received an advisory on our 6th well. So now 6 of our 19 wells have health risk advisories. That 6th well has now been taken out of service. We are not utilizing any of the wells that have that health-based advisory on them. Note too that other communities have also had some temporary treatment, but their situations were different. So I just want to share with you, we're really on the right path and we're feeling confident about this. In December 2019, the city receives approval from the MPCA and the DNR to begin design of a temporary treatment facility using that earlier $40 million designed for temporary treatment. It's designed to treat 3 of our 16 wells. I'm sorry, 3 out of the 6, it's 3 wells, let's just keep it that way. In January of 2020, the City Council had to declare a local emergency. This was not done because our water's got an emergency problem. It's because we know that we've got to get a temporary treatment system up and running by summer. Remember the difference in water usage in the winter and summer? Things really get ramped up in the summer with water usage, and we want to make sure that we've got a temporary treatment facility in place for the summertime so that we can continue to meet that water quality. We had to declare an emergency so that we can begin the expediting process of purchasing the equipment, getting the contractors rolling, and all of that. So where are we today? This treatment facility has been approved, and we're close to getting it up and running. Several steps in the process, but we are planning on putting this treatment system in the northeast corner of Tower Drive and Valley Creek Road, and it's anticipated to be in by summer of 2020. It is a very tight schedule. It's about an $8 million project right now. It might go up a little bit from there, but all that money is funded by this settlement agreement for temporary treatment. So this is not additional taxpayer dollars. The treatment system is called GAC. It stands for Granular Activated Carbon. It's a known treatment for this chemical. The water just gets filtered through it and removes the PFAS. Again, this plant that we're installing is here as a bridge to get us to the long-term settlement agreement and to the settlement solution. I just do want to mention, though, we know how construction projects go with weather, could be rain delays or what have you. We are hoping to avoid watering restrictions by getting this temporary plant in, but it may be the case that we're still going to need to implement watering restrictions. Okay, let's talk now about the long-term solution. So the DNR and MPCA have just a few days ago revealed some options in this long-term solution. Staff and our citizens groups will continue to work through this and be very engaged as we look at what the right solution is going forward. Also, our city consultants will be helping with that long-term master plan in tandem with the state of Minnesota. There are a few meetings, maybe you've seen this as we've done our communication program here in the city. MPCA and DNR are holding a couple of meetings. I welcome all people to go. I think they're shown here on the screen, or will be. Coming up on March 4th at Presswood Golf Course between 2 and 4 p.m. there will be a meeting, as well as they'll repeat it again that evening, 6 to 8 p.m. on March the 4th. There are also meetings, I believe, in Cottage Grove and Lake Elmo. Same presentation at all of those, so go to whatever fits in your schedule. But it will be a presentation followed by an open house. Again, this focuses on the long-term solution for PFAS here in the East Metro using those long-term settlement dollars. Okay, that's the story on water, and I'm happy to take questions at the end if there's some additional on that. But let me just move on. A few more things about water. We all have a responsibility as citizens to, just use our water wisely. And one way to do that is to use a smart irrigation controller. We've made these available to any of you that have an irrigation system for $35. The normal retail is $230. These controllers have been shown to save about 30,000 gallons a year. Remember I said a typical family uses 90,000 a year? You can help reduce your water by 30,000 by having one of these controllers. So if you haven't already, please look into that and do your part to help us sustain our water in our area. In addition, there's a water efficiency incentive program for homeowners associations and commercial facilities. Since 2017, 55 organizations have participated in that. If you're part of an HOA, check in with your property management company or your president and ask them if they have done this yet. There's significant savings to be had there. To help incentivize people, every once in a while we raise the water rate. It helps you just stay a little focused on what water costs. We did implement a water increase this year. Very small though, it's only 5 cents per each tier. So the city of Woodbury, I think, does a really good job of doing our best to communicate with you and keep you connected with all the things going on here in Woodbury. We have an award-winning website, and everything I've talked about today and even more is on there. So if you ever just get a few minutes, poke through that and see all the information available on that website. In addition, we produce a newsletter that is mailed out to all residents and commercial addresses in the city called our City Update. Again, it comes out 10 times a year. And then that recreation brochure that I told you is coming out in March is mailed 3 times per year. We also do a lot of communication on the various digital platforms. I'll talk about the In Touch system. This is a system you can sign up for on our website. There's 13 different interest areas. You can go on and pick 1 or 5 or all 13 if you want, and you will be emailed information about those interest areas. In addition, we're very active on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and increasingly on Nextdoor, and I'm sure many of you are Nextdoor users. It's just become a good communication tool. I want to highlight too the Code Red system. This is an emergency communication system. If you haven't already signed up for this, you can also do this on the website. Sign up with your cell phone. The system is used to alert you to any emergencies that might be occurring in your area. We did 15 Code Reds last year. It can be very neighborhood specific. We did have a gas main break last year, so a note went out to those residents that were impacted by that. If sometimes we have a lost resident or an elderly resident that's lost, we'll communicate it that way. If we need to do water restrictions, that's going to be one of the sources we're going to use to communicate water restrictions. So please go ahead and sign up for that. Well, that was a lot of information. I hope it was enlightening and informative for you. I would be happy to take questions. I just need to pause for just a moment because we're going to break the YouTube feed, and then we'll just do questions here. The YouTube feed broadcast doesn't work well with questions due to microphone use, etc. So thank you for your attentiveness, and I'll just take a breather.